Hello, Romain. Today I thought I could talk about a little case we worked on in local SEO where we achieved some good results. So that's what I thought. So I said to myself, all right, I'll present it to you. Let me introduce you to Home Like Home, which is an apartment hunter. It's a company of apartment hunters. I didn't even know this type of company existed before I started working with them. And basically, the business is pretty simple. You're wealthy, you need a very specific apartment. So instead of having a real estate agent who pushes offers at you, etc., you directly hire someone on your side who will help you find the apartment so you can buy it afterwards. In particular, I'm thinking of Christine, with whom we're working on this. She helps football players who want to settle in France, for example, who want to move because they have a new contract, etc., to find an amazing apartment. Americans who want to establish themselves in France, and so on. Expatriates like us, since we're so much richer because they want to buy an apartment. In Paris or Marseille, in really nice neighborhoods, etc. The goal is to have a sort of real estate agent working with you, so it's pretty appealing. As for performance, we doubled the number of clicks in 6 months. Roughly speaking, at one point, I don't know if we were at the C curve, but that's what excites us the most. We started working with her in July. We were at 1,000 clicks. Roughly speaking, right now we're almost over 3,000, even in January. So in January, we smashed all the records. Our performance is great. It's really satisfying. Year over year, we also blew everything up. So honestly, these are really good opportunities. Reviewing the clicks, we were at 1,000 clicks as well. Clicking out, we were a little bit above that. There you go. That gives us remarkable performance. Now, the big question that comes up is who did it? First of all, Thibaut, one of my top SEOs on the team. He's the guy I hired who started out as an intern and is really, really good at local. He's passionate about local. With him, we did some GMB spam. We did a bunch of pretty cool stuff, from manual local optimization to programmatic and so on. And in the projects we did on that, which were actually pretty interesting, it was always about content optimization. A lot of the content wasn't necessarily great. That's very often the case with clients who come to us. New content too, because there were new things that hadn't been done yet, and a lot of work on the GMBs. GMBs are still something extremely important. In this case, the advantage we had was that there were several apartment hunters in different cities. The GMBs were poorly set up, poorly named, not active, etc. So we restructured them to be more active, more effective, to direct people to the right pages and so on. And honestly, in this case, it really pays off quite well. And you can feel that the effectiveness of GMBs in synergy with the content is something that works. Of course, a bit of backlinking as well, because it never hurts, especially for the parasites, geo and so on. To make sure we're recommended by TGPT, so use a few methods like that, which we can show you sometime. And otherwise, here are the indexing issues you might encounter with local SEO, which we obviously solved with the indexers or some pretty neat methods. And always some internal linking just to restructure everything, because with local SEO, as soon as you have a lot of pages or pages that are a bit chaotic, it's good to have a linking system that's nice for navigation. So, Romain, that's what we did once again for a local client who is very satisfied, who was really happy, and who told me, damn, Leo, it's a pleasure working with you. So I thought, listen, I'll share this with you. It's always nice to see that you can get great results in local SEO. Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to tell you about the Linkavista conference that we're organizing on March 3rd. We already held a conference in October, which went really well, and we shared some absolutely insane tips. So now we wanted to do it again. This edition will take place on March 3rd. We're putting the registration form directly in the description. The goal of this conference is, of course, to give you the best possible SEO tips with a special focus on international strategies, which will be quite prominent. Honestly, it's going to be a huge, huge session. It's going to be really exciting. We've got a topic, opening new markets with Romain. You'll probably get to know him. He's excellent. A content-focused topic with Arthur, and finally a technical topic with Kevin. We're offering something for everyone to suit all tastes. You'll see it's going to be serious business. I'll probably be the one hosting the whole day. And the goal will be to get as many tips as possible this time, focused on SEO, make money international. A lot of interesting things. I hope you'll enjoy it. Can't wait to see you for the webinar on March 3rd. We're putting the registration link directly in the description for you. So what are the pages that drive traffic a little bit? Because I see a lot of blog articles. I just checked right now. That's cool. When you see a client who writes a lot of blog articles, that's good. Thank you. They might be willing to produce content. So if you give them feedback, that's great. So there's material to work with. One really great thing about Christine is that she already writes regularly on the main blog, pretty much all the time. And she told us about the main blog articles. If you give me topics, I'll go for it. If you give me ideas, I'll do it, etc. So she told us that, oh, don't hesitate to send me material. And I adjust things when it comes to content production because she really enjoys writing. Basically, she's a good writer. So we're sticking with that. And by the way, she even had a real estate blog back in 2003. So you see, she's an old hand when it comes to the web and blogging. Yeah, they really embrace content, following your recommendations and all that, because sometimes it's a pain. You have to manage the content strategy, but also find a writer or the right person who can produce content in that niche. So when you have a client who's willing to do it, and I see that the transactional keywords, transactional pages are things like property hunter plus city, property hunter plus project. I'll show you quickly on RFs the pages that bring in the most traffic. You see apartment hunter Bordeaux, that's something pretty solid. And here you see Property Hunter Aix-en-Provence as well. Aix-en-Provence, beautiful city to go after some pricier deals. What else did we have? Buying an apartment in New York. There are things like that, little by little, that are kind of, but good combinations. Those are actually good keywords. You see, it's about transactions. We also have, obviously, things like, can a married couple have 2 primary residences? More informational, classic topics. Well, let's not kid ourselves. No, for us, what interests us are transactional keywords. That's really interesting altogether. But there are quite a few transactional ones that are popping up everywhere little by little, and they just keep rising. So they're really solid. And I know that for the Paris apartment, you see, we're still a bit far off, but we'll gradually climb up. We'll go after it. There are all the districts of Paris that we've managed to cover. And again, for each client, once more, you could potentially take 5% on the sale price of a property worth 1.5 million. So each client has value. In this case, they really have value. That's what I was going to ask you. How much are we testing ourselves on in terms of commission? I said 5, but it's actually less than that. I'll write it down for you because in this case, it's quite... So the compensation should be around here. Here I see we're talking about 2 to 3%, 2.8%. Yeah, that's right, including tax. Between 1 and 3%. And if you're looking at roughly, in my opinion, the apartments she must be buying, it's around 1.5 million. Around that range, 2% on 1.5 million, more or less. Obviously, these should be people who have money. Basically, you're looking at a property worth 875,000 euros. In France, you really have to wonder, you're not even talking about an exceptional villa, given how prices have skyrocketed. That's the price of a 40 square meter apartment in Paris now, 875 grand. And we're talking about time slots at 25,000, tax included. So honestly, my business made me want to launch Club Code and get moving. When I see, honestly, good business, I really enjoy it. Unconventional businesses like that. Because yes, but not real estate. Everyone doesn't have a real estate agency. Through apartment hunters, the streets, you see, it's more unusual. There aren't necessarily 40,000 players. It's great. One day I should tell you about it. The weirdest clients I've had on calls in terms of business types, etc. Because sometimes I've had some things, I'll drop the anecdote here, but I had a guy who was a presidential candidate for 2027, something like that. So yeah, we didn't end up working together, but it was pretty anecdotal. And yeah, typically we have a lot of businesses like that. Yeah, to promote his website because he was a presidential candidate, he wanted his site to be highlighted and everything. It's crazy, but not about reputation. With the ferocity, not everything is about the money. Your name, goodbye. Everyone left, goodbye pirate, in the wings trying to buy just to block China. Too much summer. Who goes into these files? Again, during those files, right? This time we made some money. It helps when you know that the value of a client is more than 20,000 euros. Basically, you can invest in stories and that's all really cool. And you don't need to have millions of visits to get something that's effective. She keeps blogging. She has something that works. The site brings in leads. She's very happy working with us. So I thought it was interesting. And once again, local SEO, back to basics every time, guys. We talk about SEO, sometimes a bit technical and a bit complicated, but the basics are still the same. We create content, we promote it, we highlight it, and we interlink it well. And we make sure to have a Google My Business locally, for example, that's good, that's optimized, that's well worked on in the right category with photos, with regular posts, etc. That highlight the right offers, that highlight the right page. And when you connect all that effectively, you get results on local queries. And what needs to be emphasized is that local SEO is still something simple. You just need to do things properly and in the right order. It's possible to check, maybe quickly check a few backlinks that have been created recently and see if we can make a link with Linkavista and maybe check the prices a bit. That I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you that. I know which backlinks she got. She got the main ones from Echo like everyone else. All right, let's go take a look at the latest backlinks. There's a backlink we created for her recently that's helping her quite a bit. That's why it's pretty funny. The main Echo one is right here, you see. It's not hard to find it again. There are others like France in London. I'm going to look at the most recent ones that were made to see if we did them or not. I'll see if I can export them easily. I've got a scraping tool here. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's grab a little something. Let's go look on Link Finder. Here are the backlinks that were created recently. Are these good backlinks or not, or are they at least cheap? But typically, among the backlinks that were made recently, for example, there's the backlink on the main Echo one. There, I'll show it to you. Which is useful, since it brings in leads. It's the ranking of the best real estate hunters in Paris, as usual. And a little link to Home Like Home, and you'll see that this is a backlink that, in this case, should at least be found on Linkavista. Here, we're going to find quite a few from Linkavista. Our good old L'Essentiel de l'Echo. Where is it? It's here. Ah, France in London. There you go. France in London. France in London. Very good, very effective for us as well. I don't know if it's not actually someone I had a conversation with. France in London. Oh, maybe not. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while. Not bad. Yeah, kind of the same dynamic as what there was in Malta with the French in Malta. Or I can't remember exactly what the service is, but you see, it's kind of the same type of offer, right? You see Habitat Magazine, a very good site about homes, by the way. You'll notice that all those who get traffic and are the cheapest, or at our place, boom, and then all the rest. They're small sites, kind of lame, directories, spammy, etc. And Habitat Magazine. It's a really great home site that's also quite powerful, sells a lot with us, and is pretty interesting. Why use a property hunter? So there you go. Explain it to me in the latest backlinks. When you see that, we go through a Cavista because that's where we get the best deals. Quality, price, as usual. These must be the top spots, I think, in the category. Given how well themed they are, I know them all. I've seen them in the top spots, I think, every time. Think of London, I'm not sure, but the other two, I'm pretty certain. Think of London, maybe it's on Naturel, actually, since she has good connections with the expat community. Okay, quickly, to wrap up on a video we made last week, how would you do it? Right now, we're at 3,000 clicks per day. How would you go about reaching 6,000 clicks per day, doubling it? It's interesting because on top of that, there are 2 or 3 guys who are already doing double. The number one component is to strengthen the GMB aspect and the number of cities. Basically, while he is Christine for this offer, for this operation. Right now, she's capped because basically she has employees / freelancers, people who work for her in several cities in France. But she has, while there may be 7 or 8 cities in France, roughly speaking, she has 10. Let's say at most something like that. So obviously she's going to have the big metropolitan areas, etc. out of 3 zones that are hot. But she doesn't have all of France. If tomorrow we could open that up, and instead of having 10 zones, we had 30 or 40. Potentially we would have a catchment area that would be much larger. Thank you. And that would allow us to reach much more. The second thing would be that in each of these zones, each of these cities, etc., we could potentially have several guys, and that several people, each of them, would have their own GMB, each with good ratings on their GMB, and that their GMB would link to one of our pages. Make sure that basically we have a solid framework in France regarding the number of cities where we operate in SEO, so with the site pages, etc., and for the GMBs, that all the GMBs are fully optimized, that they're all active, and that they link to the right sites. And that would allow, not to say double the traffic, but to double the number of leads. I'm pretty confident about that. The thing is, the human infrastructure you need to manage behind all this is still more complicated, so it's a bit of a challenge. But then finding freelancers here and there who can set up a GMB for you kind of in that dynamic. It's just that they can create the pages for us and manage the GMBs. It's 100% doable. You just need to find the right person to initially create the GMB and then keep it updated with reviews. That we can manage. Creating the pages, we can handle that. Growing the audience, we can manage that too. But still, going out to find GMBs from dozens of freelancers all over France, I can tell you one thing is it's a human job that's complicated because we've already done it a bit ourselves. And it's not easy to get access rights every time, etc. Of course, sometimes these are freelancers who might be working for several companies. It's complicated, honestly. They're not always super responsive. But you see, she has quite a few locations now. You see, I was saying 10. Amelie, there are 10 that are active. And I think there are about 12 that are set up. She started opening in other European capitals, well, other big cities. So in Milan. Potentially, if we had other big cities in the rest of the world or Europe, that would be pretty attractive too, in my opinion. So there you go, quite a few places where we could set up. We'd need more freelancers, more GMB, and as a result, to grow the business overall in order to reach for more. We could also go further with informational content. Honestly, it's something that's doable. The thing is, there's a sales job to be done around, oh, you're looking, oh, maybe it would be interesting if you came back to France. Oh, okay, I can look for an apartment for you. I found this. Are you interested, etc. But here, the sales work and the qualification work on informational content, in my opinion, on topics like this is very complicated. So it's not necessarily easy. But already, if we have these two things, it allows us to go after more volume. And they're so cute because it's an all-girl team. And every time they make little videos and photos like that, it's so adorable. So, of course,
Great project. Great project. Okay, so to sum up, more local SEO with GMB listings where we're going to pay. You give 50 or 100 euros to someone, even someone from your family or someone going on vacation, or someone who can create a GMB on site or try to create one or several GMBs.
because we know that location plays a big role, as well as the history of email addresses, things like that. But here, on top of that, the difficulty is that you need someone to operate, because actually the day someone asks you for an apartment in Tours, in the middle of France, you need to have someone who isn't too far away, who can go there, hunt for the apartment, do visits, etc. You can't just collect the leads and manage them online, because there's a physical dynamic and a knowledge of the market that you need to have. So there's also an operational side in this case that needs to help drive things. Afterwards, what you can do is set up the GMBs at the beginning, see where you have demand, and launch operations as soon as you have enough requests. Yeah.
That's it. It's more about the order. I was thinking about that too, because if you hire someone and in Tours there's no demand, or in Saint Etienne, there's even less.
That's funny. I'm going to suggest to Thibaut to try deploying in cities where we're not operating yet, to see if it's something Christian would be interested in, to then develop operations as soon as we generate demand there.
It's great for gauging demand. Honestly, GMBs aren't easy, but if you come in with a GMB for Hunter, apartment plus city, in a city where there are no GMBs, at least with that keyword, or for that activity, when you're the first, there's a much higher chance of being auto-approved than if you show up for plumbing, locksmithing, etc. So that's also the advantage of slightly atypical businesses. I don't know, maybe there are some listings, but maybe in certain cities, I don't think there are any GMBs. If we check, I'll look it up live. Hunter apartment tours. I don't think there are any GMBs for what's called award chasseur apartment tours. So what's nice is that when you're in these kinds of atypical niches, setting up GMBs to test the demand is much easier. It's really easier than going into competitive or complicated markets. What? So yeah, there are quite a few sites, but I don't see any GMBs. Also, I get the feeling that maybe the local pack just doesn't show up here. Right now,
It shows up most of the time, honestly. But there's also the fact that you need to have a viable market. In Tours, it's not certain that there are a lot of people looking, more than 1.5 million, 2 million, who would be interesting for people outside of Tours who aren't going to travel to Tours, etc. Because you see, you still need a specific population, people who aren't going to travel, who want to go there, etc. The market isn't huge in terms of market size, but there is a real need. And if you manage to reach the right groups, I'm especially thinking about the English-speaking segment, because actually there are plenty of Americans or Brits who are loaded and want to settle in France. They want a big, nice place, but they don't have the opportunity to take flights just to check out every apartment there. So in that case, it's not bad. There's also the aspect of targeting people outside of France, which could be interesting too. But mainly, I think the focus should be on expanding to all the other big cities and replicating this in major cities. In some cases, a single GMB isn't enough in Paris. Having several might be necessary.
yeah, maybe a rollout. So you can do programmatic SEO for small towns, but as you said, as soon as you do local SEO, you're more likely to target big cities. Programmatic SEO, we don't really care about that. Anyway, in small towns, if there's no competition, you'll be first or second.
For troubleshooting services, it's convenient because there's demand. For apartment hunting, I'm not sure you'll get any leads, even if you're first or second, even in small towns. You see, with less than 50,000 inhabitants, it's just never going to happen. Yeah, no, but I was talking about a top 30 cities, the top countries in Europe, a top 30 that's doable, yeah. Yeah, European capitals, there's interest because there are expats moving around, things like that, so there's demand. All the biggest football teams, all the places where the biggest football teams are, there's potentially interest there too, and so on. And so on. So these are things that could be interesting to do. I think they're worth exploring. But then on the other hand, launching in a European capital, in an old Eastern country that's a bit far away, etc., that can be technically complicated. So then it's like you think, oh, okay, I'm willing to spend, go to Stockholm to open an agency in Stockholm. But wow, the barrier to entry isn't the same as opening an agency in Tours either. So there's also a dynamic where in this case, delivery and marketing really have to go hand in hand. And it's not necessarily super easy, but I think the opportunity is at least to test the market, which could be interesting, and that we're going to suggest to him. It's a very good idea, you see. Well done. I did the right thing by bringing you the case and discussing it, because it helps me with development too. Anyway, I don't know if it's already available, but typology by neighborhood, I imagine that's pretty sought after. We do The districts, the districts in Paris, Montmartre, if we mention Chiang Mai, Nimal, all those places. We live here, so we know that by neighborhood, foreigners, they only go to a particular neighborhood, they'll search for that specific area, and so on. It's true that it's not an href query, but it's an ultra transactional query. However, that's cool. Don't worry, we've got apartment hunters covered newly, but we haven't covered anything. The apartment hunter, Centeny. You know your neighborhoods, you know what you choose. That's for sure. It's a great project in any case. To summarize, local section, create more GMB, etc. Improve them, gauge demand, generate more traffic. There are a lot of clicks on the local pack. It rises to the top. And secondly, programmatic SEO. We're coming back to that. When you have a business with different types, cities, neighborhoods, districts, or whatever, you can duplicate massively. It's necessary. You have a site that's themed, that has a certain authority. Properly deploying programmatic SEO can really allow you to fully maximize your traffic. And what's more, these are not just random queries or like how to wear a certain outfit or whatever. These are real transactional queries where there are bookings, there are forms. So yeah, it's cool. Honestly, programmatic on real business sites is something that's extremely effective. I've seen it again. Not long ago, I saw it with a company that was buying industrial materials, something a bit heavy, etc. They had like 30 or 40 different branches where they sold construction equipment and so on. Making sure you're number one for a store. Construction equipment in each city, throughout the whole region, across the entire department, and so on. As soon as you have multiple locations, you can operate in several places. Doing programmatic SEO like that is extremely effective. Whether you're operating fully online or remotely, it works too, honestly. That reminds me of a CBD strategy where you did CBD plus city, you made listings and so on. And in the end, you redirected everything to your shop, like the order is now online, it arrives in 24 hours and so on. These can be really great ways to generate results. Feel free to tell us your ideas in the comments, what you would have added to the SEO strategy potentially. And that's all for now. We'll see you again very soon. Thanks. See you again shortly. And Jambeyo, goodbye.